Good afternoon, Bison fans, and welcome to our Bucknell men's tennis virtual season preview show. My name is Todd Newcomb, and I'm joined today by Maisha Kelly, our Senior Associate AD for Development. And we want to take this opportunity to thank Giant, our sponsor for this year's season preview series. Giant's been a great partner for Bison Athletics. We thank them for all that they do. So we've got a great lineup for you today featuring head coach Bruce Myers and three of our current players, Cooper Bradshaw, Marwan Abaza, and Michael Owen. It's time now to welcome in the head coach of the Bison, head coach Bruce Myers. Welcome, Bruce.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Misha.
So Bruce is in his fifth season as the head coach of the Bison, and prior to arriving here at Bucknell, he had coaching stops at Delaware, Longwood, North Carolina A&T, and Randolph-Macon. A 1993 Randolph-Macon graduate, Bruce was a three-year captain and two-time All-Old Dominion Athletic Conference selection during his career with the Yellow Jackets. Bruce, we're going to start the conversation with some thoughts on return to play and some questions from Maisha on that.
Bruce, good to see you. Thanks for joining us here this afternoon. We know that this has been a road and that there's been extensive planning and preparing to get to this point where we are at return to play. But from a health and safety standpoint, can you just share some of the new protocols that you and your student athletes are going through on a daily basis to be at this point?
Obviously the masking is not ideal on a tennis court, but it is what it is. And, the stopping and starting, a couple pauses here and there, the fall and the spring. But I think the guys overall are just excited to be back with the possibility of playing real matches. I mean, it's almost been a full calendar year. I think they'll do pretty much whatever it takes to get back on there and compete, which is great. It's funny, sometimes you learn a lot more when you have something taken away and I really miss tennis. It's fun to compete. I mean, you can practice, but to play somebody else, and especially in the college level, we've got a bunch of guys who didn't get to play any Patriot League matches last year. So I think it's really exciting for them to play Army or Navy or Colgate. So.
That's great. And so daily testing, weekly testing, but what other safety protocols? I mean, with tennis, one could assume too that it's an opportunity to socially distant either way in this environment. Are there other things that you all are doing on a daily basis to get ready?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for us, once again, I think we're for once lucky to be tennis because it is socially distanced by nature. The travel is going to be, we go up every evening to Central PA Tennis Center for practice. So it's a lot of spacing out in the van, and it's even pairing student athletes who might have tested positive with someone who's tested negative. So there's no contact tracing or there's no transmission possibles, and wearing masks and things like that. So, but for overall, there's not been a whole lot of changes except for the testing and wearing a mask if we're indoors in the field house. But it's kind of, I think we're fortunate that it's a non-contact sport and you're 70 to 80 feet away from your opponent most times. So I think we're lucky.
Great. Now, the Patriot League already has a unique schedule for how tennis operates as far as when you're competing against one another. And we know that even transitioning into the setup for this year, we were going to have nuances and differences for the schedule. How much did you and your peers, the other head coaches of the Patriot League tennis programs, how much input did you have on what was a viable structure would be the best way to give your student athletes opportunity during this season?
Yeah, and it's kind of unique. I mean, obviously the Patriot League, you've got a bunch of schools who kind of had the same, we're similar to Lehigh and Colgate, and then you've kind of got Army and Navy who kind of do their own thing. It's funny because there's not been any Patriot League matches by any schools except Army's already played like 14. So, it is what it is. We've tried, we've got a little more creative with our scheduling where we've got a couple double headers. Actually, we open with a double header, which will be, unique. So we're going to try to ramp up and get ready because when the conference you play every day, you can play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we can't replicate that. So when we do play, we'll try to play double headers or we'll play back-to-back matches when we go outdoors. So it's replicate as best as possible to get ready for the end of April. So
great. Just this is different, and you probably just touched on something, the idea of playing back-to-back matches and not having played for a year. But what have you observed as far as the challenges perhaps that student athletes are experiencing from the physical and mental standpoint of just what they're weathering as we have gone through now? It's almost been a year of being in the pandemic.
And I think the biggest change for tennis, I mean, tennis is a beautiful sport set up because the fall, typically you've got a bunch of freshmen coming in, you're working on doubles. We play 6 to 8 fall tournaments. So you've got 40 or 50 opportunities to play and compete. And I can tweak lineups and tweak doubles pairings and things like that. So that's going to be the biggest thing that we're kind of using our matches in March to kind of figure things out. We're usually come mid-January, we've already, all right, I know who's playing together. I know the lineup. So there's going to be some tweaking, and the coaches as a group have discussed that, some of the lineups unintentionally might be stacked until we figure out that who should be playing 1 and 2 and 3. So that it's going to be, like I said, March is going to be almost like a preseason for us to kind of get ready for April when we're in conference. So that'll be, I mean, losing the fall hurts, but I think we can overcome it.
Bruce, you did a perfect job right there of segueing right into my next question and answered part of it, actually. The question was going to be, without having a fall and without your squad being together as much as you would have liked, how do you personally evaluate the players, put them into roles that they need to be in, and maybe even partnering up guys for doubles? How do you do that when you don't have an opportunity to see them play as much?
Yeah, and even to the start of our season, we had matches scheduled that we've lost. So it's going to be probably the first 4 or 5 matches. When we play Temple back to back, we're going to try 2 different lineups, 2 different different doubles combinations, and hopefully having 5 or 6 matches under our belt, we'll have some results. And we do a lot of neat things. Like we'll do a lot of, we record all of our matches. So we can do some analytics and have it broken down even further. So we'll sit down every Monday after a weekend match and figure things out and figure which doubles pairings work. So like I said, the first 4 matches might be almost like a preseason for us. And I think it's a lot of schools are in our shoes. So when we play Monmouth, it'll be their first match too. So there's going to be definitely a learning curve with that match. So,
Bruce, I'm trying to think of different words to use as I ask this next question, because there's just some words that I think we all want to leave behind us, like challenges and unique. But how else to describe it? The fact that your program is actually one of our more unique programs in as much as there's a presence of international student athletes. And so, what were some of the things you had to navigate and help support throughout the pandemic, having student athletes that were not domestic students?
there was a couple, I mean, obviously there were some visa issues. We actually had one of our Swiss kids defer for a year because he couldn't get his visa until November. So, I mean, a lot of it was the uncertainty of international travel back in May and June when we were kind of shutting down. Could our Swedish kid travel back? And we've made some adjustments. Even Michael, who will be on the call, is from England, knew that England was going to be locked down and shut down tight. So he stayed in the States, actually with the Bradshaws, with Cooper, which allowed him to train and do things like that. So we've made some adjustments. It's been unique because we are international. But I think getting everybody back on campus has been a big thing, and now we're all, the Swedish kids flying back today, so we'll have Par back today, so everybody will be back and ready to go. So.
And Bruce, we've heard so much discussion on these preview shows about how important leadership is and maturity from having upperclassmen in your lineups. How important is it to you that you have all eight guys back from last year? And then what can you tell us about the newcomers you have coming in this year?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, Marwan actually, as a transfer, his sophomore year, came in as I think he started 4 or 5 for me in the lineup. And by last year, him and the number 1 in A were probably the top 2 players. There were some bumpy stretches as a junior trying to preside over a team, but he's done a great job. And having him back this year and having pretty much the same exact team except for Tim, who's a Canadian freshman, and then we actually have, ironically, we have a spring transfer who just started in February, who transferred from Richmond, but had some familiarity with Bucknell because his father graduated from here. His uncle went here, he's like a 3rd generation Bucknellian. So, and it's, you try to explain to a freshman coming in that this is not normal. Usually, you know, like I said, their normal schedule, we open with Michigan State, and we've already played 16 matches by this time. So, you know, he's going to get thrown in the fire quickly and figure things out hopefully by April. So.
Bruce, digging in a little bit more, you mentioned Marwan as a leader and others, but what are the things that you really emphasize and ask them to carry out and you know, in their leadership role over the team, especially during this time? What would you say has been like an emphasis for your program?
It's definitely been a much more, I guess, I've counted on him more than I normally would, just because when we had shutdowns, you know, pauses in the fall, it's easier for him to check in and keep tabs and you know, they're a tight knit group, but you want to make sure that they were following along and doing what they're doing, because, you know, as we've seen, you know, in our, not our program, but in other programs of Bucknell, if you have one student athlete test positive, it could bring a whole program down for 2 weeks. So, you know, we're trying to really guard against that. So I rely on him to kind of be my eyes and ears when I'm not on campus with the guys. So that's been the biggest thing. Or, you know, keep the guys motivated when we go through a pause. You know, we're not allowed to have practices, but he can make sure everybody's doing well, everybody's trying to stay fit and things like that. So he's done a really great job with that. So we were able to, you know, we had our first practice last night, and it's almost like we didn't miss a beat, which was great. So.
Bruce, we've already touched on this a number of different times, and I know it's probably really impossible for you at this point to predict a tentative lineup, but who are some of the players on the squad that Bison fans should be keeping an eye out for this spring?
I mean, Marwan will return as our number one. Like I said, I was confident that he was probably either the top, if not the top two players in the entire conference. So hopefully we'll get to find out who's number one. Michael Owen played 2 last year. Will return probably in the same role. Cooper Bradshaw will play 3, you know, as I think he did last year. A big improvement would be Nick Muller, the transfer from Richmond, will step in probably the 4 or the 5 slot and share it with Tim Zelikovsky, the freshman from Canada. And then Guillermo from the sophomore from Puerto Rico actually came back fitter, stronger than ever, had a great, you know, obviously Puerto Rico, you can train year round there. So he came back a lot more fit. So I think from a lineup standpoint, even compared to last year, we're deeper, but more talented, which is great. So.
Well, Bruce, I know you and your team have to be overly excited to get back out there and start competing. And we thank you for your time today, and we want to wish you the best of luck during the season.
Thanks so much, and hope you have a great chat with the guys.
All right, so it is time now to welcome in our 3 current players to today's program. We'll have them turn on their screen.
I can't turn it on because it says host stopped it.
All right, Jeff, we might need to let them in on their screens here. Here we go, guys. Thanks for joining us today, guys. So our first guest today is junior Cooper Bradshaw, who's from Glen Ellen, California, where he attended Laurel Springs High School. Thanks for joining us today, Cooper.
Thank you for having me.
Can you start off by telling us your recruiting story and how you wound up at Bucknell as a member of the tennis team?
Sure, yeah. I actually didn't really know much about Bucknell, being from California. It wasn't until I went to a showcase at Yale, which is basically just where college coaches can watch high school players play some matches. And basically from that showcase, I was in touch with Coach Myers, and things kind of, we hit the ground running. And from there on out, I did an official visit, and I loved what I saw, loved the program, and I committed. And I actually got really lucky. I never had to apply to any other school. I just found Bucknell, and it was the perfect fit for me.
Wow, that was a easy transition of, I'm sure, for you and your parents not doing too many college visits and just knowing at first sight. So good for us and good for you. Welcome, Cooper. Talking a little about, your career and last season in particular. You and Michael Owen teamed up for doubles and had some great success. For, those who may not be avid tennis fans or know the technical side of it, can you talk us a little bit through the fundamental differences between playing doubles and singles, and what are the things that folks would be looking for to be sharpening their tennis eye as they watch matches?
Sure, yeah. Doubles in college tennis is really fast paced. It's different than junior tennis in that regard, because in doubles in college, you only play one set to 6 games. So, to someone who's going to watch a match for the first time, I'd say probably keep that in mind because it's really fast. It can be over in a matter of minutes. Just with one lucky break, it can make the difference in the match. Singles is anything can happen anytime, depending on the day, depending on the team. Um, Navy's a great team. Like, for example, Navy in the previous years, they did some damage to us because they just have some really good players all throughout their lineup. Um, so just be patient, I'd say, to viewers watching, because anything can happen. Yeah.
Great.
So Cooper, I have another question, but I want to follow up with Maisha's question a little bit. And she mentioned you played with Michael and you guys had great success. So as a doubles tandem, what do you need to be successful? I mean, I would imagine communication is key.
Yeah, communication's really important. Having Michael as a doubles partner is really helpful because he is a giant and has a very, very big wingspan. So that that helps. He does a lot of the work at the net for me, and he has a big serve. But also mainly just having chemistry with your doubles partner is really important. If there's no chemistry between you and your partner, your team won't be very effective. So I think you just have to know your partner inside out, know what their strengths are, know what their weaknesses are. That makes all the difference.
It's kind of what I was thinking, but I'd rather hear it from you guys. You guys are the ones out there on the court doing it every day. So my question really is along the lines of being away from Bucknell for almost 2 months in between semesters this year. That's an unusually long break for the university. And how did you guys as a team maintain, that bond that you have and communication when you're that far away for that extended period of time? And secondly, how much tennis were you able to play during that time?
Yeah. I mean, with Michael, it's really easy. As Coach mentioned earlier, Michael was staying with me over break. So we got to hit and work out quite a bit. As for staying in touch with the rest of the team, honestly, it was pretty easy because we don't have too many guys on our team. So we're really close. So um, it's just really easy to stay in touch. We kind of say it's like a mini fraternity in a way. And unfortunately, actually in January, I got COVID, January 1st. So that put a dampener on things. But having Michael over break was really influential in being able to practice and lift for all of winter break because that was such a long time of not being able to practice with the rest of the guys.
Cooper, the next question is from one of our viewers today, and this is from Stephen in Rye, New York. He wants to know who will be your toughest competition in the Patriot League this season and why. You may have already mentioned it, but
Yeah, I haven't looked at the rosters of the other teams, but from history, I would say Navy is definitely our toughest opponent. They're just they have great guys all the way through their roster. Every match will be a battle. We all have to be playing our best tennis to take Navy down. Um, their one is really good. Marwan will have a really interesting match. I'm really curious to see who's going to win that match. A lefty at Navy, so that'll be an interesting match.
Well, Cooper, you're getting ready to get back to competition. What's the mindset of the team like right now with that on the horizon?
Everyone's hungry to play. I mean, we've been practicing a little bit, but none of us have been able to play any matches, so everyone's just really excited to get competition. We have a doubleheader coming up soon, hopefully, assuming it doesn't get canceled. So everyone's just looking forward to play matches again and compete.
Well, we appreciate the time you gave us today, Cooper, and certainly wish you and your teammates the best of luck. Thanks, and
Thank you.
have a great spring.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so our next player is senior Marwan Abaza, who hails from Boca Raton, Florida. He transferred to Bucknell from Florida Atlantic University, and he's been a great addition to the Bison program. Welcome, Marwan, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to be on the show.
You're getting to be an old hat at this kind of thing. You've done a bunch of these already.
I feel like a regular.
So for the Bison fans who may not be aware, I mentioned that you transferred from Florida Atlantic. What was that process like, and how was Bucknell the right choice for you?
It definitely. It's funny. In high school, I actually didn't know about Bucknell, being from Florida, and then I had a friend from Florida Atlantic actually that told me about Bucknell and how it was his dream school. And upon trying to apply, I realized how difficult it was to transfer here. So it just made me even want to get in even more. I got to thank Coach to help me out with the process, and I sent a lot of paperwork, but it was worth it. And as you can tell, I like it a lot more here at Bucknell than FAU ever did. So
Well, we're glad to have you.
Well, Marwan, clearly your impact has been significant. Two-time captain, so you're serving your senior year, your second time being a captain. How have you helped the team out through this past year, given all the challenges that have come?
Definitely the two-time captaincy, that's definitely has something to do with the lucky with the age. But I'd say what I've been doing this past year, definitely try to help with experience. We have a lot of guys that maybe haven't had the luxury of playing that many matches, and just knowing what's coming helps us train a little bit more diligently. And it's tough to expect the freshmen to train really hard thinking about Patriot leagues when they have no idea what the championships are like. So my number one goal is to just let them know what's coming and help them prepare themselves the best that they can. And they've been doing a great job.
So Marwan, you were playing some really fantastic tennis at the time of the stoppage. And what are your expectations for yourself and for the team this spring, having that opportunity to get back out there?
I mean, expectations, we want to win the Patriot League title. And I think we all not only think we can do it, but we think we will. In terms of how I'm playing, I think even though COVID's been difficult to train and everyone feels that it's even, sometimes you're quarantining for weeks on end and it's almost depressing to just sit in a room all day. I think it's been not only me, but all the guys have been doing a great job of making the best out of it. Cooper and Michael trained together, but also Guillermo has been doing his own work. Tim and Nick have been working out in when they were alone, and I've been trying to do calisthenics on my own. So it's no gym doesn't help, but I feel like we're all ready to tear up the Patriot Leagues.
Marwan, you also have a question here to answer from a viewer, and this is from Stephen in Rye, New York again. And by the way, Stephen's actually a member of Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame, so great to have him engaged in this. How do you train to get in shape and specifically improve your quickness over short distances?
Oh, okay. I like that question. Actually, quite recently, I've picked up basketball, and the guys are probably sick of me talking about it, but I've been obsessed with basketball for like a year now, and I've been trying to dunk. So I really feel improvement in my on-court like tennis movement because of how much I've been trying to train to dunk. Like I've been doing a lot of like quickness exercises and like lunges and just a variety of stuff. So I feel like anything that gets me off the couch and on the court is good, but a lot of quickness, little like small exercises that you just like on the line, over and back, and jump roping. So those two things.
Marwan, I have a quick follow-up. I mean, how close are you to dunking?
I thought I was close, but I'm not. I can't even dunk on like a 9.5 for him, so I'm far. Michael and I have both been trying. Michael's pretty close too.
Great.
Michael's got the advantage of those really long arms
But
and that
the
height.
Cooper's got the highest vertical, so
Well, Marwan, you were able to take part in the Through the Decade series we did for men's tennis not too long ago. What were those conversations like, and what were you able to maybe take away from some of that discussion?
I actually really enjoyed those discussions. We not only got to hear cool stories about. I mean, you want to know what it was like for the people on the team before you, but also it's really cool to hear, especially with the conversations that I had. They were very successful, and it's very nice to learn from the success before you, because I've been trying to take bits and pieces of what I learned from those conversations, especially with Steve and that generation. They're very good, and definitely it was nice to catch up with them, because this year's our 100th year anniversary of the program on campus. So it was a very nice time to get connected with the alumni.
Well, I can tell you that the alums enjoyed it as well. I've made several comments about how great you guys were, you and your teammates that were involved in that. So I thank you again for doing that. And obviously, we want to thank you for your time today and wish you the best of luck this season. And we'll be watching that Navy match extra closely.
Sure. And hopefully we'll
All
make
right.
the season worth it. Thank you.
Our final guest today is sophomore Michael Owen, who's from Folkestone in England. Michael attended the Harvey Grammar School in Kent County. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Michael, glad to have you. And as we've already mentioned and even talked about a little bit of your experience. So last spring, given that you are from overseas, what was that experience like for you, and how have you sort of managed the obstacles that have been in the way of even going home and coming back? Clearly, we know how you spent your winter break, but
Yeah, so obviously, just like everyone else, it was a bit of a surreal situation. And at first, it was just trying to decide, trying to understand like the magnitude of everything and what were the best steps to take. So I remember the flights at that time were really, it was difficult, and there was a bunch of restrictions being put in place. So I actually spent, I think straight after school closed down, I spent like a few weeks in Puerto Rico with Guillermo. So that's another great example of the kind of like camaraderie on the team, and everyone's looking out for each other. And yeah, that was, I mean, we were also locked down there, but it like gave me a few weeks of time to get home. And yeah, eventually I was able to get back to the UK in about, I think, May, and actually had a relatively quiet summer. I think the UK opened up at one point in June and July, but it's recently shut down again. So yeah, that was my story dealing with the coronavirus in March.
thank you.
So, Michael, since full team workouts really didn't get started until now, you haven't been able to really do that. How have you guys been able to keep in shape and mentally prepared with your game? Have you been able to work out in small groups with coach or with each other? How have you guys stayed ready?
Well, I guess it's differed for every person and based on their circumstances and everything. But I think in general, as much tennis as we can play, like whenever we're allowed to play, we'll find a way to get onto the court and hit balls and work on some drills as well. I think everyone on the team understands like how important it is just to be, tennis is obviously an explosive sport. You need a lot of different physical attributes, cardiovascular endurance, and everyone's trying to get stronger as well. So we've done a bunch of training on our own, like Marwan said, like kind of like circuit training, body weight stuff, and then when we have had access to weights, we've used those. So just a bunch of different kind of training. If you can't play tennis, then we're running or just trying to find any way to get better.
Speaking of that, so you are now just into your third year here at Bucknell, and talk about
Second,
how.
yeah.
Excuse me, sorry,
That's right.
yes, but talk about how you have progressed, and not only on the court but in the classroom, and then what you think your focus is going to be in tennis this year.
Okay, so for my progression, I remember when I came in the fall of 2019, I probably didn't make the best start to the full season. I had a few matches here and there that weren't kind of the level that I'd sometimes produced in juniors and thought I'd bring in. But actually, it all turned around at the start of the spring season for me. I went on a pretty good run at one point, and playing doubles with Cooper, that kind of just happened and turned out to be a really great partnership. And we had it was definitely a big progression from the spring to the fall of last season. And in the classroom, it was definitely like a different to what I've been used to back home, like the education system and stuff. There were a few little things. I mean, coming obviously just like anyone going into university, it's completely different. So that was another thing to navigate. But I think like the student athlete experience in general, you really appreciate it, and working hard on the court and then in the classroom as well. It kind of goes hand in hand. So I think it's been definitely a progression on the court, and then I've probably matured and in the classroom as well, getting work done, not at the last minute and stuff like that. So yeah.
Michael, we've talked about it a little bit with this call today, and that, your men's tennis team has the most international presence of probably any of the sports here at Bucknell or close to it. Can you tell the viewers what the process is like in terms of how you were recruited and how you wound up at Bucknell, and what different steps you might have to take as an international player versus someone here in the States?
Yeah. So yeah, in the UK, it's very popular, like college tennis. There's a lot of Brits throughout the US playing at various colleges, and it's a dream of like a lot of players, because at least in the UK, the university system isn't the same as like the NCAA for sports. So there's it's not the same like competitiveness and level, I'd say, overall. So a lot of players want to come to the US, and part of the recruiting process is, well, first I'd say a big thing is just getting involved with an agent. I actually work with an agent called Pippa from Stars and Stripes Tennis, and she works with a lot of British players and European players as well. And so she was massively helpful, and because it's a big, trying to understand everything about the US system and applying for colleges, it's obviously a lot different to what you'd be used to. So that's really helpful in narrowing down your colleges, getting in touch with coaches, and then from there, once you kind of have an idea, like you've done your SAT, you've got your UTR rating, that's when coaches will reach out to you. You can reach out to them, and I think Bucknell was one of the ones that I was like kind of shortlisted, and I had some great talks with the coach, and from there it kind of just took off, and eventually it was making a decision if this was like the right fit and everything. And I mean, I was also looking hard at some UK universities like Bath and Loughborough, because they also have very good sports as well as academics. But in the end, I think this was the right decision, and it's worked out well so far.
Well, we're happy you're here.
Thank you.
Michael, our final question is also from a viewer in the audience, and pretty cool. It maps on nicely to the conclusion of the Australian Open that just occurred. And this is from Stephen from Victoria, Australia. Well, he wants to know, what will you do differently this year as both an individual and together as a team to achieve success?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say it's not so much as doing things differently per se, as just really building off of what we did last year and taking that to new levels. I think this year we have we've made some great additions to the team, and there's like a lot of reason to be optimistic. So we just, the main thing is just doing the fundamentals well, doing the little things well, and if we can do that, I think that will really lead to bigger things. So it's not so much as making like wholesale changes as much as it is just, turning up every day in, day out and doing the little things that will prepare us well for when it's crunch time. So, yeah.
Well, that's great. And we will certainly be cheering for that success as individuals and as a team this season. So thank you so much, Michael, for spending some time here this afternoon, and to all of you.
Thank you very much. Great questions.
Well, I want to make a special thank you to all of our guests today. We certainly appreciate their time. And that'll just about wrap up today's show. We want to thank Jeffrey Campbell, Ben Blumenthal, and Jess O'Shaughnessy for their assistance with today's event. Our next event in our season preview series, sponsored by Giant, will be on Monday, March 1st at noon, and that will feature the field hockey program here at Bucknell. And as a reminder, you can see that entire schedule on the Bucknell Athletics website. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day, and go Bison.